and welcome to the 2021 John Young History Maker Awards of the Historical Society of Central Florida. I'm Pam Schwartz, Executive Director of the Orange County Regional History Center, as well as the Historical Society. It is my honor to serve as the Master of Ceremonies tonight, recognizing those who have made a historic impact or have left a lasting legacy on Central Florida and the people who live or visit here. In our 15th year of this prestigious award, we will again honor 3 individuals. A history maker past who, while no longer with us, left us a legacy that continues to shine. A history maker present who continues to shape this community. And a maker who we set great sights on making history for the future. We would like to begin by thanking our Orange County partners who make the History Center possible, including Mayor Jerry Demings, as well as our Orange County commissioners whose support is critical in the work that we continue to do. We would also like to thank our City of Orlando partners for all of their support, including Mayor Buddy Dyer and our Orlando City Commissioners. While we wish we were seeing you all in person, we are glad we can still be here with you virtually through the generous support of tonight's sponsors. Thank you to our silver sponsors, Orlando Health, Walt Disney World, and Greenberg Traurig. Our bronze sponsors, Universal Orlando Resort and Gray Robinson. Our History Maker Future sponsor, Thomas Cloud. And our media partners, WUCF and Orange TV, who put this incredible presentation together. And to each of you for attending this evening. Thank you all for supporting the Historical Society and for all you do throughout the entire community. We also must continue to thank and honor this award celebration's namesake, John Young himself. To speak about him, I'm pleased to introduce the History Center's One Orlando Registrar, Jeremy Heilman.
The Historical Society of Central Florida's History Maker Award is named in honor of astronaut and local legend Captain John Young. Although he wasn't born in Central Florida, Young and his family moved to Orlando in 1936 when he was a boy, settling in the College Park neighborhood. For the rest of his childhood, John Young would call the area home, graduating from Orlando High School in 1948 as a straight-A student and being named the most outstanding scholar of his class. Young would go on to attend Georgia Tech and would have a distinguished career in the United States Navy, working as an aviator and test pilot. This path would eventually lead him to NASA and to his being selected in 1962 as part of Astronaut Group 2, or the Next 9 as they were also called. He would fly a total of 6 space missions, 2 on Project Gemini, 2 on Apollo, and 2 on the Space Shuttle. Though all his trips were notable in their own way, Young was part of 2 significant firsts, flying the inaugural crewed missions of both Gemini and the Space Shuttle. He served as the pilot for Gemini 3 in 1964 and the commander of STS-1 in 1981. If these accolades weren't impressive enough, perhaps his most famous accomplishment came in 1972 when, as the commander of Apollo 16, he became the 9th individual to set foot on the surface of the moon. Only 12 human beings have ever done so, putting Young in very elite company. Orlando was understandably extremely proud of Young, hosting motorcades and elaborate celebrations following several of his missions, and to this day you can find his name on both John Young Elementary and, of course, the John Young Parkway. Later in life, Young would reminisce about the time he spent here, sharing memories of going to the movies at the Beecham Theater and working his first job as a teenager at a local Piggly Wiggly grocery store. With all the excitement surrounding the space program during the 1960s and 70s, the astronauts of that era were admired by people all around the world, and an entire generation of people here in Central Florida had one of their own to look up to, inspired by the fact that someone from their hometown region had been part of such an important moment in history. After his last flight, Young would continue his career with NASA, where he served as the chief of the astronaut office from 1974 until 1987. He would go on to work in various other capacities within the organization until he officially retired in 2004 after 42 years. Known as an astronaut's astronaut, he was respected immensely by his peers and those who followed in his footsteps. In the 2007 documentary, The Wonder of It All, several Apollo astronauts are asked about their legacy and how they would like to be remembered. When Captain Young, known for his dry sense of humor, was asked this question, he replied, "I have a lot of things to worry about, but being remembered is not one of them." Although this answer isn't necessarily as poetic as some may expect to hear, in a way it does highlight why events like this one, our John Young History Maker celebration, are so important. Like Young, many history makers work hard to better themselves, their field, and their community, but don't always spend much time thinking about the long-term significance of their contributions. They are often far more concerned with their work than how history will remember them. That is why it is important that we take the time to recognize those history makers, past, present, and future, who, like John Young, have given so much of themselves to make a difference both locally and beyond. The awards being presented tonight allow us to properly reflect on the positive impact that an individual can make and how Central Florida is a better place because of what they have accomplished.
Thank you, Jeremy. Captain Young is certainly a monumental figure in Central Florida's past. Hello, I'm Lenny Bendo, the most recent past president of the Historical Society of Central Florida. With roots beginning in 1942, with a few simple historical displays in the old Orange County Courthouse, the Society's founding goal in 1971 was to build a permanent museum for local history. First established in 1976 in Orlando's Lock Haven Park, the museum moved to a much larger and more prominent position in 2000 to our current downtown location. Since then, through our partnership with Orange County, those humble beginnings have morphed into a national, multi-award-winning museum with an incredible and dedicated staff of leaders in the field. I want to again thank all of our elected officials for their support and to all of our sponsors this evening. There are many ways to support the History Center, and you too can get involved. You can become a board member and participate in the exciting renovations that are to come. You can volunteer or become a member and enjoy all of the great benefits of that program. One of the best ways you can support the History Center is to simply donate. Any amount helps and provides vital resources to an institution doing really great and community-minded work. Visit our website for more information about these opportunities. And please, take advantage of our Text to Give program throughout this presentation. Simply text the word below to the number on the screen. At the History Center, we believe in being an active community member and that learning about the past is vital to a better future. And so I'll hand it off to a recent Historical Society board member, Tom Cloud.
Thank you, Lenny. Part of the History Center's role in helping to create a better future includes the award of a college scholarship to our John Young History Maker Future. I chose to sponsor the scholarship because I believe in the next generation's ability to impact change. This year, we selected from a pool of candidates who are already connected to the museum, having recently interned or spent time as a volunteer. Volunteers play a vital role for the Historical Society in giving of their own time, skills, and thoughtfulness in fulfilling the museum's important mission. This year's recipient is Anna Duncan. Anna is a senior at Edgewood Junior Senior High School in Titusville, Florida. She first came to the History Center as a student participating in the summer camp program and later returned in 2019 to earn volunteer hours as a youth camp counselor. Anna has also dedicated her time volunteering at the Titusville Public Library, Rotary Park Nature Center, and tutoring children at Tropical Elementary. During the pandemic, she made and donated more than 800 face coverings for Parish Medical Center in Brevard County. She is a member of the National Honor Society, recipient of the President's Volunteer Service Award, and an AP Scholar. Anna plans to attend college in her home state and has her eyes set on either Florida State University or the University of Florida. As an individual who has participated in the History Center in a variety of ways throughout her life, I'm honored to introduce Anna to speak as the 2021 John Young History Maker Future Awardee.
John Young once said he was forever thinking about how we could all make the next trip forward and make it the best, most exciting, most educational, most edifying, yet safest trip that humankind has ever made. Young is telling us to always try to do better than before, to improve upon our history, just as today's honorees have done in our community. And I am extremely humbled to be sharing the podium tonight with Trailblazers Joel Strack and Mabel Butler. Thank you both. And thanks to the generosity of the John Young History Maker Scholarship from the Orange County Regional History Center, I will be investing in my childhood dream to become a virologist. I want to do what I can to make a difference, to make the next trip the best, and studying and understanding viruses would allow me to help others in our global community. This pandemic has certainly brought viruses to the forefront of our lives, and while I may not yet have the education to contribute directly to the treatment or vaccine development, I have been able to contribute in my own way, to make history in my own way. Over the last 18 months, I helped to make more than 900 face shields and donated them to our local hospital to help keep our frontline medical workers and their patients safe. My time at the History Center, both at camp and as a volunteer, has made me very aware of how important history is, and how each trip forward, as Young puts it, is an opportunity to make history, to make things better. Thank you again for your generosity, and I am extremely honored to be recognized as a future history maker. I plan on doing just that, making history. Thank you.
Thank you for that inspiring speech, Anna. You've already accomplished so much, and we cannot wait to see what you hold for the future. In looking to the future, we should also spend time learning about and recognizing our past. By selecting a recipient of the John Young History Maker Past, we honor the impact of individuals who have really made their mark on Central Florida. And while they are no longer with us today, their legacy continues in many ways, both easily seen and in other ways not seen. I began with the History Center as Chief Curator in 2016. And this year's recipient left a meaningful mark not only on Central Florida, but also on me and on our museum. My very first exhibition to be planned was instigated by the one and only Joel Strack. Joel Strack, who passed away in 2019 at the age of 59, was a trailblazer for the LGBTQ community in Orlando. He co-founded the Orlando Gay Chorus and helped to launch Orlando's Pride Parade, as well as Disney's Gay Days. He also served on the board of directors for the LGBT+ Center of Orlando on Mills Avenue and was a founder of the LGBTQ History Museum of Central Florida. It was in this last mentioned role that our museum had the honor of working with Joel to craft the Pride, Prejudice, and Protest GLBT History of Central Florida exhibition. Without Joel's fearless advocacy for this community throughout the years, and for his willingness to share and always give of himself, this exhibition would not have been a reality, nor would Orlando be the place it is today. Joel Strack was an incredible human being. I can definitely say that I did not know Joel Strack best of anybody in this community, but I am happy to say I think I knew the best of Joel Strack. He was just an incredible, kind, and thoughtful friend. He was an advocate for this community, generally speaking, but especially for the LGBTQ community. The way I met Joel Strack was actually through his work with the LGBTQ History Museum of Central Florida. We decided to work with me in my capacity at the History Center, then as the chief curator, to do an exhibit of LGBTQ history. It was something that hadn't been done really to any great extent in this community, and was just really excited at the prospect. And so we started talking to Joel about what was LGBTQ history for Central Florida. And every time it was a personal story for him. And we sort of came to this conclusion that Joel had touched all of these milestones, for better and for worse, of LGBTQ history in Central Florida across a time span of years.
I met Joel Strack it was in the 1980s. We were working with a group called Orlando Regional Pride, which was the original Pride Parade. It was just a few people in the LGBTQ community that wanted to have visibility and wanted to have a parade. And Joel Strack, Phyllis Murphy, Brian Arbogast, Hubert Miller, and Lejeune Perrin were the original people that started the Pride Parade. But they were the ones that had the courage to be out. And for someone like Joel, who was a professional at Disney, that was a big deal because most of the people who were professionals were closeted and weren't comfortable with coming out. At some of the original parades, we actually had people that put bags over their heads because they were afraid to be identified that they would lose their jobs. But then you had this red-headed force of nature who absolutely had this positive attitude and says, we're going to make this happen. Another group that Joel was really involved with in his activism and just shining this positive light was the Orlando Gay Chorus. We have a lot of people in the LGBTQ community that like to say are peacocks or chickens. You got the peacocks that strut around and want the attention. And I think because people want the attention, they aren't willing to recognize the people that do the work, who are the chickens. And Joel and I used to laugh and say, If I got to be the chicken, you're the rooster. It's all good, you know, because there are people that actually do the work, and I think it's important, so important to recognize the people that do the work. And Joel was one of those people. And I think in this age of self-promotion, we forget about those who really made a difference. And I don't ever want anyone in this community to forget about Joel Strack.
One of the, I guess, an example of Joel's greatness that I saw firsthand was when we were designing that LGBTQ history exhibit that was called Pride, Prejudice, and Protest in 2016. In the middle of our planning, the Pulse nightclub shooting happened. And of course that changed things. We couldn't have an exhibit of local gay history without including this event. And one of the things that Joel really so truly and deeply wanted to do was to make sure that people knew who was impacted, that these were members of the LGBTQ community, that these were people of color, not for everybody, but for most of those people most closely impacted. And the way he found to sort of represent those individuals was to find a unique votive candle holder from the memorial spaces. So he personally went to the memorial spaces and collected a unique votive for each of those 49 to help to represent their story. And I think that's indicative of Joel and his thoughtfulness and the care he put into everything.
Joel was the person who was the cheerleader. He was always happy. Even when he was struggling himself, he always found that silver lining. One of the last things when he was in hospice, he wanted to have a quinceañera because he was born on leap year. So it would have been his 15th birthday, which is actually a thing in the Hispanic community for a 15-year-old girl, but that didn't bother Joel. He still wanted to have his quinceañera. He never quite made it to 60, which breaks my heart. But he still wanted to have the big party. And so many people came, and it was a ridiculous affair. He had this headdress on and all this, and everybody was there. He wanted to be a celebration of his life. We didn't leave in tears that day. We left feeling happy, and all the memories and everything from politics to the gay chorus to Come Out with Pride. All these different places that he touched came to honor him, and we did a proclamation for the city for him. So I think he felt very honored. I think he, wanted to rally one last time and say, well, maybe I can make it. Unfortunately, he didn't. But the man died with dignity. I was there. I was with him his last night. And I think the only reason he wasn't really ready to go, we were like, he was not letting go. What's the deal? And my friend PJ said, it's okay, Joel, we've got it. I think he wanted to make sure that we got it, that we were going to continue his work. So I think the best thing that this community can do is continue the positive, decent, good role model work that Joel Strack always did. Be happy, treat yourself right, and treat others right.
I think the best gift that Joel gave to the Central Florida community was just being himself. I think, again, not only just through his advocacy, which was obviously the most visible part of him maybe, but also he was a motivational speaker. Maybe not formally in that he stood in front of crowds, but I think individually as he connected with people throughout the community, he motivated them to be better people, not only for the community, but also for themselves. One of the things he always said was treat yourself right. It's something I feel like I could always be better at, and maybe I should have known that because he said it to me so often. But I think what he really brought to Central Florida was not only this sort of push through helping to establish things like gay days and LGBTQ advocacy, but really just through being the person that he was and being such a good friend and helping so many others on their path.
After he passed away, his family had no idea how much he had done in this community until we did the proclamation for him on behalf of the city. So Joel has been a part of pushing forward LGBTQ rights for, gosh, over 40 years. I've known him for so long. Like I say, I saw his hair fall out and turn gray and all these things. But he still had that beautiful beaming smile, and it just was all this positivity that emanated from him, not because he had an easy life, but because he decided to take the hardships in his life and turn them around and to find ways to always find the silver lining in any cloud. And that was just Joel Strack. So I would encourage you to find the silver lining in your dark cloud and to smile for Joel.
We would like to thank our media partners, WUCF, for making these incredible videos about our awardees, and to Orange TV, who has produced our entire evening. Though Joel cannot be here to speak on his own behalf, something I know would have been a treat for all of us, we would like to share one brief clip from an oral history that we conducted with Joel in 2018. Though Joel graciously shared hours of stories about his life, something about this memory speaks volumes to the amazing person that he was. After this brief clip, please welcome Joel's brother, Ted Strack, in accepting the 2021 John Young History Maker Past Award in honor of Joel Strack.
I was doing my meet and greet, and there was a woman sitting over in the fountain, Cinderella's fountain, right next to Tinkerbell's toy shop, looking towards the castle, and I had my back towards the castle, and she was watching my work. And so I started sort of turning, when I'd play with the kids or do a funny pose with my wings and look like I was flying, or she'd be totally amused and enjoy it. And it was fun to have that almost secondary audience beyond the people I was dealing with. Towards the end of my set, my coordinator came over and said, "Joel, it's time for you to leave." And I was like, okay. So I had my 5-minute warning, because they usually gave you a 5-minute warning back then. And so I'm finishing up, and nobody was around. And I went over to greet her and bring her into the magic. And she stood up and she hugged me, and I hugged her. And she stopped and she looked at me, Joel. And she looked up at Orville, she looked at the head, and she looked at the purple scarf, and she looked at the body, and she figured out, again, she looked at me, right at the purple scarf. And I watched her look side to side to make sure nobody else was in the area. There was just the two of us. And she came up right next to the purple scarf. And she says to me, "God bless you for the gift you bring to this world." I generally found it very uncomfortable and almost insulting when people stepped through that plane of my fantasy that I was creating. But it was such a memorable moment for me. To have somebody that didn't know what my job experience was, what it was like to be inside that costume, but recognized the value that it brings to the world.
My name is Ted Strack. I am Joel Strack's younger brother. We were quite surprised to learn that the History Museum of Central Florida was going to recognize him posthumously. I think he would have been, very honestly, pretty flabbergasted. The things he did for his community and the city of Orlando, he did out of love. He was trying to just help people and do the right thing. And those were lessons learned as we grew up on our little grain farm in central or northern Illinois. And so he didn't make any big deal of those events. He just thought it was part of his everyday life. I think if he were here today to receive this award, and we would all love that, obviously, he would be truly humbled because he doesn't see these things as anything extraordinary. The reality is they were extraordinary. I had the opportunity to interact with a whole number of people that Joel touched over time. And the stories they told, very honestly, made my hair stand up on my arms, because they were he changed people's lives in very positive ways. He gave them courage to be who they were. He let them know it was okay to be different. You are who you are. And we're, as a family and as me personally, we are just tremendously honored to have Joel recognized in this manner. I'll say, maybe not very humbly, I think he really deserves it. I only wish he was here to receive it himself. So I just want to say thank you very much, and from myself and my whole family. And I hope you have a great evening tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, and we are so very honored to have had the Out Loud Ensemble of the Orlando Gay Chorus perform for us this evening. This is a group that was so dear to Joel's heart, and a way in which many people all throughout Central Florida were able to enjoy and embrace the care and happiness he exuded through every single performance. Congratulations, Joel. We only wish you were still with us to receive this honor. To help us preserve the memory of amazing Central Floridians such as Joel, please consider an additional donation to the History Center tonight. Now, I'd like to welcome back past board president Lenny Bendo as he introduces our John Young History Maker Awardee of the Year.
This evening, during our 15th annual awards, I'm deeply honored to announce the Honorable Mabel Butler as the recipient of the John Young History Maker Award. Those who know her will tell you that she spent nearly a century really living life and serving others. Mabel Butler was the first African-American woman to serve on Orlando City Council from 1984 to 1990, and the first African-American member of the Orange County Board of Commissioners, where she represented District 6 from 1990 to 1998. In her earlier public service, she worked tirelessly as director of a multi-purpose center under the auspices of the Orange County Community Action Agency, and was instrumental in getting the Meals on Wheels program established in much of West Orange County. Mabel Butler Avenue and the Mabel Butler Family Center are named in her honor. And while these are no small accolades, they barely scratch the surface. We're extremely honored to present this award to the Honorable Mabel Butler, an exceptional trailblazer and history maker. Please enjoy this video where so many individuals share the incredible impact she continues to have before we hear from Mabel Butler herself.
So who is Mabel Butler? There's one word that comes to mind, and that word is love. She was about making this community better for so many individuals in so many ways. She saw her life, her commitment, her calling is one of service. Even before she entered into elected office, she was already serving the community.
She actually started her career as a social worker and moved on from there to doing additional work with the city. And finally she ran for office and became a city commissioner for 2 terms. And from there she went on to become a county commissioner for 2 terms. All during this period, Commissioner Butler has continued to be a very vocal, active, aggressive proponent for the Black community, for senior citizens, and for people of less fortunate means. The Commissioner has worked extremely hard to build the local communities of Orlando. She was very instrumental in bringing the Classic to Orlando. She's been very instrumental in zoning certain roads to ensure that we have commercial development. And even today, while she's been retired for several years, it's not uncommon to see Mayor Dyer or any other local officials sitting at her famous breakfast table for her to talk about issues that impact our communities.
You know you're in with Mabel if she invites you to breakfast at her house. So I have been to many a breakfast, and sometimes it's a counseling session, sometimes it's a different type of session, but it's always interesting and it's always fun. Mabel knows how to get things done, and she's very effective. She can make somebody think it's their own idea, and that's an important attribute really, but she can be very convincing, whether it's over a plate of sausage and grits or in a boardroom or in a council chambers. Mabel cares about people. She's somebody that can get things done, and as to Mabel, there's 2 kinds of people, those who love her and those who are afraid of her. So she had her ways of being extremely persuasive.
I never saw anyone make their one vote count as much as she did. Commissioner Butler would use her one vote to really sway some major decisions. She would turn and say, I'm worried about some of those issues that impact people right in our community as well, be it water, rubbish, or trash, or tires in communities. Those are environmental issues that sometimes we don't think about, and she would advocate for that, and she'd make certain that her one vote influenced how a larger community was helped as well.
Much of what we have now, the groundwork, the foundation was set for that when she was in office. And then she's continued to champion for that since being there. Very few people don't know of Commissioner Butler.
She was perhaps one of the first vocal, strong advocates for the disenfranchised. As she used to say, poor folks, old folks, Black folks. She made certain that those concerns were always center stage, be it jobs, be it economic development, be it minority and women business enterprise. And those are a couple of areas that her mark has proven a strong legacy.
I don't know another person who loves as strongly as the Commissioner loves. But on that same token, she can give tough love. And so she's given all of us a great deal of tough love, but what's motivated her is her love for people, her love for the community, and that's all she is. She's just a stand up for our community and has always been.
I think maybe her greatest contribution is breaking barriers, being the first African-American woman elected to the City Council and to the County Commission. She's had people that are standing on her shoulders now.
She was real. There was no pretense. She was fearless. She didn't cower. She didn't cover to anyone. While there clearly were moments of discrimination that she faced those times, she never let that deter her from what was her mission, her calling.
I've watched her overcome numerous personal and professional setbacks. And each one of those, she's been able to weather that storm, and it's never slowed her down. She's continued to march.
Even at 95 years old, 95 years young, she still holds court. Part of that acumen as an elected official that I think she could pass on is how to really have an impact in government. She truly is willing to share her views without hesitation because she still is about serving.
Her work is not over. I think so many times she called, and she's never calling for herself. She's always calling for something to help somebody else, whether it's improvements at the El Claudia Allen Center or just helping a neighbor. I can't think of anybody that's more of a history maker for the city of Orlando and Orange County than Mabel Butler. There aren't a whole lot of people that have been honored in a fashion that they live on a street that's actually named after her. Mabel has been extremely influential in my life because I know that she cares about other people, and she set a great example for me. So Mabel, I can't think of anybody that deserves this honor more than you do. I thank you for your friendship and your leadership and your mentorship over these past 30 years. I love you.
Commissioner is very dear to my heart, as she is to so many. This is just a way for you to hear how you touch so many lives, how so many people love you, care for you, and that you know, Commissioner, but those who will see this will get to know more about who you are, and perhaps some will even gain a better appreciation for who they are because of how you touched their lives, how you open up opportunities, created opportunities for many in our community. I just truly appreciate what you do for others. I appreciate and love you for your warm personality, your caring personality, and just the fun. You make everything so fun for others. You help bring people together. You love on us, and that's the word I know you used to say, I'm going to beat you up, but I'm going to love on you too. And how you loved on me will forever stay with me.
Commissioner Butler has always been my hero. She's done all the things that I'd like to do in my career. She is my conscience today. Whatever I need counsel about, I go to Commissioner, as I affectionately call her Mom. She is the most pivotal figure in my life today. If I need to talk, if I need to address, she knows how to listen. And if I'm too whiny or something, she knows how to snatch me up pretty good. Okay, and if I need a push down the road, I can definitely get a push down the road from her. So, short version is she's my mom, and she means everything to me. I love you dearly, Mom, and I want to emulate you the rest of my life. And thank you for all you've done for me and for our community. We can't say enough.
I am so very honored to be honored by the Historical Society. But I must say thank you to all of those that helped me do what I'm receiving this award for. No one does anything alone. And, I love serving my community as a city commissioner and a county commissioner. And thank you so very much for this award. During my tenure as city commissioner, I used to have Mabel Butler Family Day, which I brought out all of the various agencies that were available to the community. And I did that at Turkey Lake Park, which is now the Bill Frederick Park at Turkey Lake. And I found that communities were information poor on service that was available to them. And that is the reason I did that. Everybody really enjoyed it. When I left the city and went to the county, I continued that, but with a bigger impact. Many of the citizens of the county did not realize how much it costs to let's say, for instance, I'd have 33rd Street bring out a statue of an inmate, and we'd talk about and have the price of the shoes, the slippers, the jacket, and things like that. The same thing with park equipment. So my thing as a commissioner was trying to inform, to better inform the community and the constituency which I served, well, the whole county, I served everybody, for as I'm concerned. I was elected from a district, but I served everybody. So that way I kept them abreast of what was going on, and so that they could help me help them. So that's some of the things, but you know, I had no problem with putting on my dungarees and having a cleanup day and riding the truck and throwing trash up and get everybody else involved, the total community involved. And I had no problem in taking all the employees the next day to lunch, you know, that helped me serve the community. So those are some of the, I don't know how, am I being awarded for this or that, but I just want you to know it was an honor, and it is an honor to receive this award. Thank everybody that thought of me at the Historical Society.
We are truly honored to recognize our John Young History Maker honoree for 2021, the Honorable Mabel Butler, our History Maker past, Joel Strack, and our History Maker future, Anna Duncan. Thank you to everybody who provided their own voices for the videos about our recipients. As we close this evening, we want to thank each of you for attending and for all those sponsors who made this event a success. We thank the staff of the History Center and the Board of Directors of the Historical Society of Central Florida. You may have heard the media say again and again recently that we are living through historic times. We at the History Center believe that every day becomes historic. And we will continue to be right there to not only collect it, but to help preserve and interpret it for generations to come through our exhibitions, programming, and educational opportunities throughout each and every year. Please consider becoming a member and following us on social media to stay informed about all of the great things that we have coming up, including our newest exhibition. We thank you all again and hope to see you safely very soon.
If you change your mind, I'm the first in line. Honey, I'm still free. Take a chance on me. If you need me, let me know. Gonna be around. If you got no place to go when you're feeling down, down. Money, money, money. Must be funny, funny. Oh, in a rich man's world. I work all night, I work all day to pay the bills I have to pay. Ain't it sad, sad, sad? And still there never seems to be a single penny left for me. That's too bad, bad, bad. So in my dreams I have a plan. If I got me a wealthy man, I wouldn't have to work at all. I'd fool around and have a ball. I'd fool around and have a ball. Money, 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 must be funny in a rich man's world. Whoa, money, 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 must be funny in a rich man's world. Whoa, money, 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 must be funny. All the things I could do if I had a little money. It's a rich man's world. Don't go wasting your emotion. Lay all your love on me. Super trooper beams are gonna blind me, but I won't feel blue like I always do. 'Cause somewhere in the crowd there's you. I was sick and tired of everything when I called you last night from Glasgow. All I do is eat and sleep and sing, wishing every show was the last show. So was glad to hear you coming. Suddenly I feel alright. And it's gonna be so different when I'm on the stage tonight. I've been cheated by you since I don't know when. Since I don't know when. Since I don't know when. So I've made up my mind. It must come to an end. It must come to an end. It must come to an end. Look at me now. Will I ever learn? I don't know how. But I suddenly lose control. There's a fire within my soul. Just one look and I can hear a bell ring. One more look and I forget everything. Whoa, Mamma Mia, here I go again. My, how can I resist you? Mamma Mia, does it show again? My, just how much I miss you. Yes, I've been broken hearted, blue since the day we parted. Why did I ever let you go? Mamma Mia,